Ever wondered what actually makes a deal work? And I don't just mean the handshake at the end. I mean the economic forces that get both sides to that yes.
It's fascinating stuff, actually.
Right.
The book we're diving into, it's called Deals, right? By Michael Klausner and Guhan Subramanian.
Yeah, deals. The economic structure of business transactions.
It gets into not just the tactics, but the, underlying logic. And that's what I think is so useful for anyone, deal or no deal.
So, what's the core idea we should be wrapping our heads around?
Joint value. A deal, if it's good, makes both sides better off. Not just winning, but mutual gain.
Makes sense in theory, but we've all been in situations where we walked away feeling kind of meh at best.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the biggest factors the book digs into is information. Or, more accurately, when one side doesn't have enough of it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that becoming a problem real quick.
They use this example. You're buying a used car.
Classic.
The seller, they know every rattle, every little ding they're hiding, right? Buyers in the dark.
Yeah. Total lemons problem? Is
Yes.
that what they call it in the biz?
Exactly. You never know if you're getting a steal or, well, a lemon. And this isn't just cars, by the way. This pops up everywhere.
Oh, I bet. Company buyouts, licensing deals, anything where one side's got more intel.
You're getting it.
Mhm.
Creates an uneven playing field right from the start.
So how do you avoid that? Especially with these big business deals, way more than a clunker car on the line.
They give a few strategies for the buyer's side. Due diligence being huge EE. Don't just take their word for it. Dig into those financials yourself.
Yeah, if you're about to drop millions on a company.
Talk to their customers. See what the competition's saying. Get the full 360-degree view.
So information is power, leveling that playing field as much as you can.
And the flip side, right? If you're selling, got to signal your value. Strong contracts, warranties, maybe even bring in a third-party auditor so it's not just your word.
Makes you wonder how much of a deal is about the thing itself versus how much is managing the information around the thing.
That is spot on, actually. The book argues that structuring a deal is as much about managing risk, the unknown, as it is agreeing what dollar amount goes where.
Okay, so information's huge, but what about the actual back and forth, the negotiation tactics? Any secrets there?
This is where they bring up BTNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Sounds intense. Break it down for us.
Basically, what's your fallback if the deal goes south? The stronger that fallback is, the more leverage you have.
Okay, so if I'm negotiating a job offer, my BTNA is I already have another offer, maybe even better, waiting in the wings.
Exactly. And knowing that, maybe even subtly letting the other side know you've got options.
Yeah.
That sets a much stronger baseline for you.
It's not just getting to yes, it's making sure that yes is on your terms at a fundamental level.
100%.
What else can swing the power dynamic in a deal?
Oh, tons of things. But a big one this book digs into is the power to walk away, to commit or decommit credibly.
Oh, you mean if you can't convince the other side you're willing to walk, you've got no leverage.
Right. If they know you're desperate for this deal, you're kind of stuck.
Makes you think of that line, if you can't spot the sucker in the first half hour.
Right. Though, to be fair to the book, it's not about being cutthroat. It's more knowing when you're better off walking. Not every deal is a winner, and forcing it helps nobody.
Right. Gotta create that joint value. But okay, what about when, even with the best due diligence, there's just a lot of unknowns? The book talks about symmetric uncertainty. Is that what you're getting at?
Totally. This is where it gets really interesting. Think new technologies, markets that are just emerging. Nobody has a crystal ball there. Not really.
So how do you even begin to structure a deal when the future's that fuzzy? Both good and bad outcomes, equally possible.
This is where they bring in things like earn-out clauses and contingent value rights, or CVRs for short.
Those sound complicated, just to say.
They're a mouthful, yeah. But the idea is simple. Part of the price is tied to future performance. Not just what we think it's worth in NW, but how it actually does down the line.
So instead of a fixed price tag, it's more like, we'll see, and adjust accordingly.
You get it. Things go gangbusters, seller gets a bigger chunk, things tank, buyers somewhat protected.
Shared risk, shared reward. Makes sense in those uncertain situations.
And the book's got some wild examples of this, both successful and, well, not so much.
Okay, gotta give us the juicy stuff. When have these earnouts blown up in someone's face?
They talk about this company, Wipro, buying out Comengo, a software services company.
Okay, software, hot market, I'm intrigued.
So part of the deal, they use an earnout based on Comengo's performance. 2 years, pretty standard, right?
Yeah, tie the price to how well they do. Sounds logical so far. What went wrong?
Wasn't the metrics they used is who was calling the shots after the deal closed? See, Wipro, the buyer, they had the overall control, but Comengo's management was still running the day-to-day.
Uh-oh. Conflicting priorities much?
Bingo.
Yeah.
The book makes this point really well. Earnouts aren't just about picking the right numbers to track. It's about who has the control to impact those numbers.
Because if the buyer could make decisions that benefited them overall, but tanked the acquired company's performance, that screws the seller on purpose almost.
And that's the risk. Sometimes it is intentional, sometimes just a side effect. Point is, got to think about aligning those incentives from the get-go.
So it's this balance between like absorbing the company into yours, but also letting them keep enough independence to actually succeed under their own steam?
Exactly. Can't stifle the very thing you bought, right? And this balance, it comes up constantly. Info asymmetry, how you exit a deal, it's all about those incentives at play.
And you keep saying, joint value, joint value. Remind me what that means again in this context.
The core idea that deals should be mutually beneficial. Not just about splitting the pie, but growing the pie so there's more to go around. That's when deals are their most successful, honestly.
Yo, I love that. Not just winning, but winning together in a way.
That's the ideal, yeah. And this book, honestly, it's what got Memi so into this whole field. It's economics, but it's psychology, it's strategy. There's almost a game theory element to it all.
Sounds like a lot can go sideways, though, even when everyone thinks they're on the same page. So how do you ensure good faith, especially when there's millions, billions on the line? This is where that moral hazard thing comes in, right? Like, once the ink's dry, one side's like, well, time to screw over the other guy, no one's watching.
Huge E problem. And it's not always malicious either. Sometimes it's just human nature.
Oh, totally.
The book gives this example, right? A CEO, they're supposed to act in the company's best interest long term. But what if a juicy bonus comes along for short-term gains? Suddenly, their moral compass gets a little flexible.
It's like when your buddy borrows your car, brings it back, empty tank. He's happy, you're stuck holding the gas bill.
And in business, that gas bill is millions, sometimes billions, right? So how do you prevent that?
Yeah, good question.
Aligning incentives is key. Structuring the deal so everyone's motivated to row the boat in the same direction.
So everyone's got skin in the game.
Exactly. They talk about royalty payments in biotech, for example. Pharma company. They do the sales, the marketing, all that.
Yeah.
But if the drug tanks, they lose money too because they get a cut.
Makes sense. And the biotech company, they get that upfront cash to keep the lights on, develop more drugs, so even if this one isn't a home run...
We're still in the game. It's that mutual benefit again.
Yeah.
But the book also warns about going too far with the incentives, like those super cutthroat workplaces, eat what you kill mentality.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories.
Everyone's so busy stabbing each other in the back to hit their own targets that the company suffers in the long run. No teamwork, no innovation, just a race to the bottom.
So how do you find that balance? Rewarding individual hustle, but not at the cost of the bigger picture.
Not easy. Takes careful thought, really understanding what motivates people. But we've only talked about what happens during the deal, right? What about when it's time to call it quits?
Oh, the dreaded breakup. That's got to be messy in the business world.
It can be. And the book stresses how important it is to have a plan for that, an exit strategy that's actually fair.
Because even if it all goes perfectly, sometimes things just change, right?
Exactly. Businesses evolve, markets shift. What made sense 5 years ago might be a liability now. And if you're stuck because you didn't plan for that.
I bet the legal fees alone would be brutal.
Not to mention the time wasted. So they talk about things like shotgun clauses. Sounds dramatic, right?
Very John Wick. What is it?
Basically, one side can force the other's hand. Either buy me out at a fair price, or you sell your stake. Clean break, even if it's tense.
So high-stakes poker move to force a resolution.
But it protects against getting stuck. They also mention rights of first refusal, a little less aggressive.
How does that one work?
Say you want to sell your share of the business. With this clause, you have to first offer it to the other partner at whatever price someone LSE is willing to pay.
So it gives the existing partner a chance to keep things in-house, but if they're not willing to pony up the cash, you're free to sell to the highest bidder.
Exactly. Protects the partnership and your individual options. They even mention rights of first offer. Less common. But basically, you get to make the first offer to buy out the other side before they could even shop it around.
So if you really want to keep control, that's one way to do it. It sounds like there's a whole menu of options, depending what you're worried about.
That's the thing, right? There's no one-size-fits-all. Got to tailor the strategy to the specific deal, the players involved, the industry.
And they illustrate this with the Miami Dolphins sale, right?
Oh, such a good case study. The Robbie family, they own the team, brought in this investor, Wayne Huizenga.
Wait, that was Zenga? The Blockbuster guy?
The one and only. He gets a minority stake, right?
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. They gave him a right of first refusal if they ever sold the team.
So if someone offered to buy the Dolphins, Huizenga got first dibs to match it.
Yep. Now here's where it gets good. Huizenga also owned the Florida Marlins at the time. Baseball team shared a stadium with the Dolphins.
Oh no, I see where this is going. Suddenly, that right of refusal is worth a lot more.
Because if the Dolphins were sold to someone else, he could threaten to move the Marlins. No more shared stadium, huge headache for the new owner.
So the Robbies were stuck. If they wanted to sell, they basically had to go through Huizenga.
And he knew it. So when they did sell, he got the Dolphins at a steal because no one else dared compete. It's a masterclass in leverage.
Wow. Makes you realize those clauses, the legalese. It's not just technicalities, it's real power being negotiated.
And that's what I love about this book. It connects the dots. It's not enough to know what the clauses are. You got to get why they matter, the economic forces at play.
Ask why as much as what. Love that.
And don't forget, sometimes what's not in the contract is just as important. Those strategic omissions.
Ooh, like what? Give us an example.
Think about Scarlett Johansson, right? Suing Disney over Black Widow. Her contract, it guaranteed a wide theatrical release. But it didn't specify for how long it had to be, only in theaters before going to streaming.
And Disney Plus was right there.
Cha-ching. They released it both ways simultaneously, made bank, and Johansson argued it cost her millions in box office bonuses.
And she was MAD. Big legal battle, right?
Huge. Point is, even seasoned pros can get tripped up. Clarity matters. But it also makes you wonder, can you ever write a contract that covers every possibility? Especially as business gets more complex, moves faster.
That's almost philosophical. Like, is perfect foresight even possible?
Right. So maybe the goal isn't to eliminate all risk, but to be aware of it, to build deals that can bend without breaking, even when the unexpected happens.
Deals that are flexible, adaptable, kind of like a good partnership should be, right?
Exactly. Because a good deal isn't just about winning today. It's about building something that lasts, that creates value for years to come. And honestly, that's what I find so fascinating about this whole field.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave our listeners with one last thought to ponder. As you navigate the world of deals, remember, knowledge is power. Understand the game, the incentives, the potential pitfalls. It could save you a lot of heartache down the line.
Couldn't agree more. And never forget, a well-structured deal. It's not just about lining your pockets. It's about creating something of lasting value for everyone involved.
Fantastic conversation. Thanks for taking the deep dive with us today. Until next time, happy deal making, everyone.